Oh, good morning, everyone. Enjoying my morning cup of coffee. Wondering what we're going to do today. Should we go down to the bayou and do some fishing? Hey, that's actually a possibility. I'm trying to get my son over here long enough to where I can go take him down to the bayou. It's just right over there, and go do some fishing. See what we can catch. So, but anyway, today is going to be a motorcycle video. Let's get revved up. Put it in gear. Drop the clutch. Hit that throttle. Actually, we're going to be working on some bikes. The second thing we're doing today is we're going to be working on my Vulcan. This is my, I almost said 19. It's a 2019 Vulcan LT Classic. I think the LT Classic is basically saddlebags and maybe the high seat in the back. I'm not sure which options is the LT, maybe even the floorboards there. Those floorboards there, those are really nice to have. They feel so much better on the feet on a long ride than a peg. So definitely if you have the opportunity to get floorboards like that, definitely get it. They also have a kit that goes into the back that replaces the stock peg there, and it's also a floorboard, and it's nice because it will help keep the passenger's foot from hitting that exhaust pipe. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, or well, not ever seen, but I don't know if you guys, let me restart that. Let's back up. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever taken the time to really pay attention to exhaust pipes, but like the 750, you touch those pipes, they'll melt. They will melt your pants. I actually have a pair of sweatpants that got melted on the 750, but I'll show you that in a second. But these heat shields, there's a heat shield that wraps around here. That's a heat shield. There's a heat shield here. So they have double heat shields on the pipes, and they don't have a double for the lower one because this is where when you have your foot down on the ground, that is just an extra heat shield, which all this chrome is a bitch to keep clean. I try my best. I didn't cover it last night after I got back from a ride, so I got a layer of dust. The bike cover actually does really good. As long as you get it around all the sides, it'll keep your bike looking great, and it's worth the time to cover it up every time. But for right now, we're going to be working on a different bike. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to finally change the rear tire. Now, let me tell you, as some of you guys that have followed my bike videos, I've said that Kelly's Kawasaki in Arizona, I think it's Tempe, they would sell me a tire for my 400, which is not too much larger than that tire. They would sell me the Dunlop tire for my 400 that I sold, and they would sell it to me for about 200 bucks, maybe a little over with taxes, and they would swap the tire out for free. Well, the place near where I live now, the closest Kawasaki dealership, they wanted to charge me $250 for a tire, and they couldn't tell me if it was a Dunlop or a generic or whatever. So $250 for the tire, and then $150 to swap it out for me. So that would have been well over, that would be $400 to have a rear tire put on this bike. I'm like, and they said, yeah, if you do all the work and take the tire off, we'll charge you half price. I'm like, well, if I take the tire off, I'm swapping the damn thing myself. Because anytime, or at least from my experience, anytime you get spoked rims, you have a tube, which makes it so much easier for you to change your own tire, because you don't have to worry about screwing up the bead. Because I'm new at swapping tires, if I was to be like using my pry bars to pop this back on and I damaged like the edge of this bead here, I would have to buy a new tire because it wouldn't seal. But since there's tubes inside of them, if I chip or damage this in any way, the tube is going to hold air. So as long as it holds the bead, we're good. Now the tire I chose is a Shinko. I used to use these tires for my 250 I had, my Suzuki. They seem to be all right. I would ride my 250 back and forth to work, so I chewed up tires big time. There is a Metzner, can't ever really pronounce that correctly, but there's a Metzner or something like that tire that I really wanted to buy, but since we just got done remodeling the house and everything, I wanted to save some money. So this Shinko cost me $150. And that is like $100 less than what the shop was going to charge. $250 cheaper than getting it installed. So I'm going to take the afternoon and I'm going to bring you along with me. I'm going to show you how I take it down, and any of you guys that have taken this rear tire off of this Vulcan, if you could interject and throw some tips in there for the next time I swap it out, if you see me doing something that's not necessary. Okay, well, here's what we got to do. We don't have a motorcycle lift, which I'd like to get one, but I've been able to get things done pretty easily without, so it's kind of like on the back burner. But anyway, I've got the motorcycle balanced between these two beams, so it's very balanced. You can't push it over either way. I've got it supported with the jack, and it is off the ground now. I can get under here and I can spin this wheel here, just like so. So if we really look at this tire, yeah, we could have had some more miles on it. But one thing I noticed is I'm starting to get a vibration, and the last time I did that, I got the same situation. You see how on this side of the tire the tread is still visible? Well, if you rotate it just a little bit more and you come up to here, and the tread almost vanishes right here. There's just barely a lip there. That cracking right there is probably a sign of it. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that cracking. And it's all the way around here. And that's what makes running a tire this flat is dangerous on a motorcycle. Well, practically any car. But you can see the cracking in this center tread here. Now let's see if we roll it back to the side that has more tread. Do we see the cracking? We do, but it's not as defined. So this whole tire was just about to fall apart. It was. And plus I'm kind of feeling that this side is higher, like more tread than this side. And this side I'm seeing a lot of splitting. So I don't know. I'm not a tire expert, guys, but definitely this tire has been vibrating. I know that for a fact, and it's unsafe. So it's my opportunity to work with a belt for the first time. I have never worked on the belt, so this is going to be interesting. I'm going to try to get one of my markers, you know, the silver markers, and I want to mark where the adjusters are so that I can get right back in that same area, because these belts, it's very, very tight. Very tight. I don't know if that has anything to do with it being a belt, but I've never worked on a bike with a belt. So getting the tire off is the first hard part, and then you have to get the tire off the rim without damaging your chrome rim. So this is going to be a fun job, guys. So let's dig in, see if we can all learn something together. It looks like that shield has to come off. Looks like a lot of stuff has to come off just to get the wheel out. Well, definitely that cover there needs to come off, because I would imagine we pull the axle pin out and it'll just slide out this way, and I might have to jack this up more just to get the tire out. I didn't even realize that. So this is going to be a fun one, guys. I'm going to try to avoid having to take the saddlebags off, because now that I'm looking at it, I might not have to do it, because I can get to these two bolts here, and I think that's the only bolts on this, and I can pull this off, and then it's just tensioners and axle nut. That's it. She's already up in the air. Oh, look at that, guys. Look at where they put that nut. I'm either going to have to pull off my exhaust pipes or get in there and hold that with a wrench while I, on this side, use the ratchet to pull that off. That's okay. I can actually check the brake caliper while I'm there. All right. So I've removed the caliper, and I've pushed it aside there. Can't lose my spacers. And as you can see, the brake pads are still great shape right there. Plenty of wear left, and the rotor looks great, so I'm all good there. So what I did was I marked the tensioner right where it was, so I could put it right back in that spot, so that I don't have to worry about tensioning it the wrong way. So I just backed off these here, loosened up everything, removed that nut there, of course pulled it out this side here. I need to get the belt off. I wanted to get the belt off, just pull it off the top and lay it to the side and pull the wheel out, but I learned I cannot do that. It will not allow me to do that. So I have to come up front, and I had to pull off this shiny cover here, off this area here. And now this cover here, this was attached by a bolt, so I just pulled this off to the side. And now I am removing these bolts. One of them was very, very long, because we have to get this cover off in order to access the front of that drive belt. And I'm hoping at that point, see how long those are? I'm comparing them to make sure that they're all the same size. I don't have to worry about mix matching those. So I'm going to have to pull this off so I can slip that belt off of the gear up here on the transmission. Theoretically, should be ready to come off. Beautiful. Now you see this here. See the gear here on your transmission. So I should be able to slip this off a hell of a lot easier than the other slipping off the backside. I might have to push that wheel forward. Hang on a second. Okay, guys, so I started getting this tire off the rim. That's how far up I had to jack up the rear end of the bike in order to get that tire out of there. After removing the front of that belt, everything popped out just fine. Now, to break the bead, Harbor Freight sells a bead breaker that works fine on motorcycle tires, but anybody that knows me, I try to do things without spending extra money. And I went back to the old bicycle style of removing a tire. And what I did is I put this underneath the tire to where it crosses the rim, to hold that rim and the tire on that side. And then I got a big old clamp like this, C-clamp, and I slid it underneath this board. And then the top part, I just took a scrap piece of wood from my household projects and I set it right there. And I just cranked it down until eventually boop, popped off the bead. So now we just use these pry bars I bought specifically for the GZ250 I had. And I do the same process as that bike, you know, but I did change up the way that I broke the bead, because on the 250 video, if you watched it, my son and I stood on each side and kind of stomped and stuff until it popped out. But I wanted to do it a little better, a little more controlled, and this worked out just perfect. I just had to get the boards right to where it pulled down at the right angle and as closest to the rim as possible, and I was able to get both sides debeaded and or broken, or whatever you want to call it. Do it just like you did your old bicycles. You just stick this in here and pry it up over, and you just keep moving over and over and over, and eventually the whole thing will pop right off. This is a typical valve stem for one of these bikes. It has an angled 90-degree stem, and since this is a tube, that stem is connected to the tube. So I have to remove this nut completely, pull it off the stem, and then this should push back, and I can reach inside the tire and help work this out and then out. of the tire. And I need to remember which way that goes so I can get, so okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get that little nut right there off, and then we should be able to get the tire out, or the tube out, sorry. I just wanted to point out that this nut, once you get it unthreaded there, you have to bring it up to where like the valve stem cap is, and it threads off just like that. But we need to remember to get it back on to the rim that way right there. Okay? Okay, once you get it out of the hole and sticking out of the tube like, or the tire like this, I had to flip this up on this side. See how right there is where the hole for the valve stem is? I had to pull it up here and pull it out, and then it's just a matter of working it out of this side here. And sometimes it helps to lift up the tire to get it out, and just like that. Try to do this one-handed, it's really tough. There we go, beautiful. Now the tube is out, and because we use pry bars to pull this out, we're gonna have to air this up, check it for leaks. But let me share a little tip for getting it back in, okay? If it's like half aired up like this, it's gonna be very tough. You're gonna struggle with getting this back in the tire, believe me. So what I do is I flatten these out. I roll them up as much as possible and get, here more air is flowing out. I just flatten these out as much as I can, and once I get all the air I can, then I'll put the valve stem back in there, and it'll hold. And once I stick that valve in there, this thing is going to be flat. It's going to be so much easier to stuff in, and it'll go in there a lot better. And then once you get it all back together, you just air it up, and it pops the bead back on and everything. But I'll show you that. No problem, guys. That's what Cobra Vids is here for. Throw that off to the side, and now we have to get the tire fully off of the rim, which this is not a big deal. All we're going to do is we're going to flip it up, shove a pry bar up in there, and just finish popping the tire off the rim. I might even be able to do it while holding this camera. Nah, I can't. So I'm gonna get started, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Okay, here's what it looks like. I just, in an upward motion, pushed it up and then bent it up like that. I do a couple more and this tire will pop right off. They're easy to get off at this point here. Woo-wee! If you don't have the confidence that you can finish this job, don't try it. Getting that rim off with all the stuff on here, it may be better just to pull all this stuff off and you get better grip on the tire. But I got it off. Hopefully I didn't bend anything. It really was more difficult than I thought it was. Well, all right, here's the side-by-side. This new tire looks wider. Huh, am I going to even be able to get this up inside the wheel well? This looks bigger. I mean, it's the same exact size, but that just looks bigger. Tell me if you agree. Well, same size, so we're going to get it on the rim. Whew, here we go, guys. I'll stop about halfway and show you my progress. Okay, when you're going to start getting this on here, it'll be pretty helpful if you got something soapy. This is just soap with a little bit of water, you know, so that when you spray it on, it goes on bubbly and it creates a lubricated surface. So you're not putting oil in, that stuff will dry up. But as long as it's wet, it'll help glide this new tire on, because, you know, smooth metal surfaces with dry rubber, it just does not work right. So we're going to go ahead and put this side on first, and then I'll show you how I get the tube in. I got to make sure that my sides are right. And okay, guys, I'm going to get this side on, stop, show you how I'm going, and then we'll continue on. And you also have to make sure that, I think I just flipped it around here. You have to make sure on these here, there's a rotational, okay, like right there. That arrow points to the front of the bike, the direction that the tire will go. And you have to make sure that you orientate that correctly to where it's going to be spinning the right way. Otherwise, the tread is not going to be working as designed. It's going to be working backwards for you. Okay, see you in a bit. The hole is right here for the valve stem. back kind of on the same size it was when we took it apart. So I'm going to work on getting the tube in on this side here, stuff it in. I always start the valve stem first, and then everything else kind of lays in place. All right, that was a tough deal. I'm glad these are not tubeless. I torture these damn things. With a couple scratches on my rim, which should be buffable, you know, take some fine sandpaper and then polish the hell out of it. That should be able to be gotten rid of. I definitely need a tire breaker and a tire remover for motorcycles. So I think I need to invest in that. That'll make things so much easier, don't you think? All right, so 2 things to check. 1, make sure the balance dot, whatever it's called, is next to the valve stem, and make sure that the tire direction, this is the brake side on this side, so it should rotate this way. And let's see, we got a rotational arrows pointing this way, so it's circulating correctly. So let's get this upright, check the valve stem. Okay, as my compressor pumps up, I don't have my garage set up, so I don't have it constantly running, so I gotta let it pump up. So let's put this valve stem in, and now we have to air it up to engage the bead to get it popped back on the rim. So the only way to do that is add air in it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna spray the hell out of it, get it all soapy in there to help ease it onto the rim. Yeah, we'll do that to both sides, and it should slide on really nice. I'll let you all watch it. It's always kind of satisfying to hear it pop. Now that it's quiet, let's go ahead and put some more air in it. I like to air it up real tight and then let off and then air it up again. That kind of allows the tube to round out, you know, go in there the way it's supposed to. And there we go. Whew. How scary that is. Okay, that was the other side popping into place. That's just scary as hell. So we'll let all the air out of it now. A valve stem tool is a must for any mechanic. It's the fastest way to get a tire deflated. Hang on a second, I'm going to grab my spray bottle to spray this piece here again while it's pulled back in. We'll spray it. Should be able to get it. All right, we've sprayed the heck out of this. Let's see if we can get it to pop on now. I hope. I want to get this back together before I'm pooped out for the day. Oh, is it coming? Okay, now what I want to do is I am going to top this off at 30 pounds. Okay, so what I did is I aired it up to 35 pounds of pressure. I'm going to let it set out here for a few hours, maybe till this evening when it starts to cool off a bit, and then I'll come out and reinstall the tire. But in the process, I'll be waiting to see what the tire pressure is, because when I first did one of these, when I was installing it or taking it apart, I pinched the tube and I put a hole in it. So I had to take the tire off and replace the tube. That's something I was hoping I didn't, because I normally would change the tube every other tire. So this is the very first new tire put on the bike, okay? So I got like 9,000 miles on the original stock Dunlop tire. So we'll see how much we get on this. So yeah, so we're gonna wait a couple hours, come back out here, check it. If it's still 35 pounds, it hasn't dropped any, then we'll go ahead and install it, and then we'll go for a ride. Okay, drum roll, please. Looking for 35 pounds. 35 pounds. There you go. Dead on from when we left out here a couple hours ago. So we're going to get that baby installed. Let's go. Well, my initial intention was to have all of this all done, and then the next video was going to be with the tire on, and I was going to talk about getting it back on. But I wanted to show you something, just in case someone's following along with this video while they're doing theirs. I just wanted to say, before you start putting the tire back on, you might want to, this is the caliper mount, and see that groove right there, that squared groove? That actually slides right up onto here and needs to be installed before you put the tire in there, because this, I mean, I'm sure you could probably drop it in there, but I'll just put it up here, and hopefully it stays in there, because the axle bolt goes through there. Oh, the caliper fell. All right, I also want to mention that before you put the axle bolt in, make sure that the belt is around the back side, pushed all the way forward, and the belt will slide onto the front gear. No problem at all. That's the best way to get it on there. I suppose you could pull this gear off of here and slide it in the belt and then put it back on there. I suppose you could do that, but if I don't have to mess with that gear right now, I'm not going to. Smart, huh? So now I got to get my axle pin back in, and what I did was I used my jack and everything to level the axle bolt hole here, and so the wheel is perfect. So all I got to do is slide it in there and like tap it through with everything in place, and then I just got to torque it down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, notice I added ladies in there that time. We got the covers back on, we got the belt back on. When I put the tire back on, I matched it to the marks I made in the beginning, so that the tension of the belt, since I'm not replacing any belts or gears, I put the marks right back where they were from the factory or from the dealership. And so I got that all done, tightened up, and I did it to 80 foot-pounds. The manual says 79, but I go 80 just to, you know, it's okay. Don't panic. Yeah, that's about it. All I've got to do now is get on the road, test it. If you get a brand new tire put on your motorcycle, be very careful. For the first 50 miles or so, it's going to have a slick Teflon coating on it, and it takes about 50 miles for the traction patch to wear off, so that you have full traction. So just go out there and ride gentle. No hot rodding, which is hard to do. But anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video on changing the rear tire on this Vulcan, because it's the first real thing that I've done to this bike other than detail it out. So that was very, very fun. I'm glad you all stayed with me and joined me to see the end. Anyway, man, this is a great bike. We got plenty more maintenance to do. We're going to do spark plugs and everything. So if you guys really, really want to see that, subscribe, like, and you know what to do. So do it!